In this video, I will be going over 1-2 through the tunnel in Kirby in the Forgotten Land Jumpless Completionist. The copy ability that we are forced to use to be able to focus on the objectives for this level is Fire, because we need it to be able to light up the 4 lanterns scattered throughout the level. We're going to have to come back through this level twice, once for the objective, and once for one of the gacha machine figures. More on those later. There are 2 gaps on the way to the dome leading to the secret room, and it can be a little hard to dodge over them, so be careful. After we open the dome containing the switch, we can't reach it. It's just like in the 1-1 video, where we had this exact same problem. The solution is really simple. We join in a second player and use Bandana Waddle Dee. If you're unfamiliar with these Kirby Jumpless Completionist videos, Bandana Waddle Dee has a watercopter move that is capable of helping out a lot in this challenge. We can use him to our advantage to areas that may not be accessible with Kirby's current copy ability that we are forced to use. Anyways, we can get into the secret room and save the first Waddle Dee no problem. Although we do have to go through the first obstacle that we got here with a second time. But anyways, we're moving on. This area has a really tight dodge to get onto the rope, but it's nothing we can't get around. It only takes a few attempts. The next screen contains the final 3 lanterns we need to complete the mission. There is a gacha machine figure locked behind a door in this screen, and we can't reach it with Fire, because it's opened via a switch, which we can't reach. I tried everything that I could possibly think of, but nothing was working. We can't use Fire to get to the switch since it's too high up. We can't dodge along the platforms to be able to make it up. We can't even use Bandana Waddle Dee's waddlecopter to make it up, since Kirby is the one that the camera focuses on. So we will have to come back to it with another copy ability. And that brings us to this obstacle. How are we going to make it up to the grading area and reach the second Waddle Dee? Well, we can't make it up there just by dodging or using Fire, but we can get onto the first platform, but not the second. That leaves us with only one valid option. Why, if it isn't anyone other than Bandana Waddle Dee. Yeah, we are going to have to use him again. I was worried that it wouldn't work, since Bandana Waddle Dee is at the very top of the screen, and if he goes just a little bit too far off camera, he will get teleported back to Kirby. We can only move the camera a small amount at this point, but fortunately, I managed to get Bandana Waddle Dee into this cave, and then navigated with him so that I could hit the bomb block and get the second Waddle Dee. Things are looking pretty good so far. Or at least I say that, but they actually turn around pretty quickly. This next screen is where we can get to our third Waddle Dee, but there is a major roadblock that's preventing us from making it there. Because once we make it to this wall, we've come to a dead end. There is no way to dodge onto this step, and even if there was, it would probably not cover enough distance to be able to make it. I tried using these 2 signs to be able to help, and while I can stand on them, it was extremely finicky, and it was too easy to either dodge onto the platform and then immediately fall off from the post bounce, or I could just accidentally jump over it. I even tried that while on a time limit thanks to this fuse that we have to do, since we have to be in the cannon before it fires. There are no options to be able to save us here. So can't get through this level without jumping and while getting all of the objectives done. And just for the record, we can't come in here with a different copy ability and then store it so that we could just have both sword and fire. We have to accept our first 2 jumps and then dodge into the cannon so that we can rescue the third Waddle Dee. The next screen does not treat us any better. We have to deal with a staircase that is too high to dodge up, and too high to get through with fire. We're basically out of options automatically once we make it in here. I tried dodging from this broken step for the heck of it, but it's too high. I even tried skipping ahead past this point, but all that was there is a death pit. With all options exhausted, we are going to have no choice but to take jump number 3 if we want to get to the stairs. Now that we become stairs, our next priority is to get one of the gacha machine figures in this level. Speaking of which, I think it's time to address how important they are. So, gacha machine figures are required for 100% completion in Forgotten Land. It's probably the last thing that you'll be spending Waddle Dee Town in, because there are 4 different volumes of gacha machine figures that you have to get, and I'd recommend going for them after beating the game, because 1, we don't unlock them until after beating the World 1 boss. And by unlock them, I mean just being able to get them by just dumping coins into the machines that are available in Waddle Dee Town. You don't unlock the Volume 1 machine until after beating the World 1 boss. So, getting them in levels is the only option. Just like I did with this one that we are getting. And the other one, we will have to take another round trip through the level with sword, since we can't reach it with fire, as I've already mentioned. But this gacha machine figure is accessible with Bandana Waddle Dee's Waddlecopter, as we do not go to the top of the screen. Gacha machine figures can just be grinded out, so I'll be doing a video called the Insert Number Here Remaining Gacha Machine Figures once we get through with World 1, and before the 2-1 video for the Jumpless Completionist series. So that's why the gacha machine figures are so important. You can also get a few of them by entering a couple of the present codes, or talking to other locals in Waddle Dee Town. But aside from that, it's going to take a while for you to get all 256. Anyways, I use Bandana Waddle Dee once again so that we can get to the wanted poster a short ways after the gacha machine figure, and then we hit a wall with the 4th Waddle Dee. We run into the same problem that we had with the 3rd Waddle Dee, and that's because we can't use Bandana Waddle Dee to be able to get into the cannon this time. We have to get Kirby up there, but as you've already seen before, we can't dodge up this staircase. It's too tall. So unfortunately, we are going to have to accept 4, 5, and 6 jumps to be able to make it into the cannon. At least we could dodge into the cannon to be able to save us some time. So that gets us to the 4th Waddle Dee and a couple of treasure chests to boot. And there you have it. That is all of the objectives and Waddle Dees rescued in Through the Tunnel in only 6 jumps. Don't go just yet, we still need to get the gotcha machine figure that we were missing. No, it's not this, it's the other one that we left behind due to it being too hard for Fire to overcome. But before we actually go get it, we're going to need to go back and get the copy ability that we need. So I went back to Waddle Dee Town and went towards the Warp Star to take us to Arrival Point. I might as well use this time to talk about Treasure Roads. Treasure Roads are required for 100% completion, but if you don't want to go through them, then you can always just input the present codes in Waddle Dee Town. The problem with that is that you have to unlock the Waddle Dee Liveries building in Waddle Dee Town, which takes 50 Waddle Dees, by the way. So we are going to have to go further into the game before we can access it. Before clearing World 1, we are only capable of getting roughly 45 Waddle Dees. So we're going to have to hold off on that idea and do the Treasure Roads in order to be able to get enough Waddle Dees so that we can access the present codes that give us rare stones. The rare stones are needed, in addition to coins, for fully evolving all the copy abilities, which is another requirement for 100%. The present codes on screen that award you rare stones are shown here. And we will have to input every single one of them once we get to 50 Waddle Dees, so that we can get as many rare stones as possible. This doesn't mean that we don't have to go to the Treasure Roads, but it's at least going to save a bunch of round trips back to the same stage over and over again, so that we can get the rare stones quickly. Anyways, now that we have Sword from Arrival Point, we exit out of the stage instead of just clearing it, because if you haven't watched the Arrival Point video, it took 1 jump to get through that level. To avoid this, we exit the stage because we keep the copy ability after we already exit the stage, so now we can take Sword back to Through the Tunnel and go for that gotcha machine figure. Most of the obstacles in Through the Tunnel that were previously difficult with Fire are now a cakewalk with Sword. Climbing the wall to get to the switch that opens the door is now a cakewalk with Sword compared to how it went with Fire, because Fire cannot get past this. Now that we have the gotcha machine figure, we can finish the rest of the stage. Those previous dead ends that Fire couldn't get past are now completely passable with Sword. And there you have it. That is 1-2 through the tunnel done in 6 jumps. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode. Goodbye.